Traveling the world is an enriching experience, but unfortunately, not every destination is as welcoming as we might hope, especially for Black travelers. While many countries are open and inclusive, there are others where racial discrimination and prejudice can make certain groups feel unwelcome. Whether it's through systemic racism, cultural biases, or outright hostility, Black people often face unique challenges in specific parts of the world. In today's video, we're diving into a difficult but important topic: the top 10 countries where Black people are not welcome. We'll explore the reasons behind this discrimination, share real-world examples, and discuss what Black travelers need to be aware of before visiting these places. Remember, this video is not meant to deter you from exploring the world, but to raise awareness and promote inclusivity. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more thought-provoking content like this. Let's get started. Number 10. Russia. Russia has long had a complicated relationship with race, and Black travelers often report instances of racism, particularly in larger cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg. While the country boasts a rich cultural history, its openness toward racial diversity is lacking. According to reports from Human Rights Watch, racially motivated attacks against Black individuals and other minorities have been on the rise, with extremist groups openly targeting people of African descent. These attacks, often violent, have led to warnings from various international agencies about the dangers for Black travelers. Black people, including African immigrants and students, often experience racism in daily life, from discriminatory behavior in the workplace to being denied entry to nightclubs and restaurants. A 2019 Pew Research Center study highlighted the high levels of racial bias present in Russian society. Russian media and popular culture often portray Black people through negative stereotypes, reinforcing prejudiced attitudes. These depictions further alienate Black individuals living in or visiting Russia, making it a hostile environment. In 2018, Nigerian students attending the FIFA World Cup reported being subjected to racial slurs and even physical altercations, highlighting the challenges faced by Black visitors to the country. Despite its rich history and stunning architecture, Russia remains a challenging destination for Black travelers due to widespread racism and a lack of institutional protection. It's a place where caution is necessary. Number 9. China. China's rapidly growing influence on the global stage has attracted visitors from all over the world, but the country's treatment of Black people, both visitors and residents, has been criticized for its overt racism and discrimination. In cities like Guangzhou, which has a large African community, Black residents report frequent police harassment, being denied housing, and facing segregation. A 2020 report by CNN highlighted the challenges faced by Black people in China, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic when they were unfairly blamed for spreading the virus. Black people are often portrayed negatively in Chinese media, reinforcing harmful stereotypes. For example, in 2018, a Chinese detergent ad went viral for its blatant racism, showing a Black man being cleaned into a lighter-skinned Asian man. African students studying in China have reported being treated differently from their peers. They are often segregated in dormitories and face harsher restrictions compared to other foreign students. In 2020, African residents in Guangzhou were evicted from their homes and refused entry to restaurants and hotels under the guise of COVID-19 prevention. This incident sparked outrage from African governments, leading to diplomatic tensions. China's growing international presence hasn't translated into racial inclusivity, and Black visitors continue to face discrimination, particularly in larger cities. While the country offers incredible cultural experiences, it's important to be aware of these racial dynamics. Number 8. Italy. Italy is famous for its art, history, and food. But for Black travelers, the country can sometimes feel unwelcoming due to persistent racism and social inequality. Italy has seen a rise in racially motivated attacks, particularly targeting African migrants and refugees. According to Amnesty International, hate crimes against Black people have been on the rise since 2018, fueled by political rhetoric from far-right parties. Prominent Italian politicians have openly expressed anti-immigrant sentiments, often targeting African migrants. This rhetoric has seeped into public discourse, fostering an environment where racial discrimination is normalized. Black people in Italy, including tourists, often report being followed in stores, facing poor treatment in restaurants, and being subjected to racial slurs. According to a 2019 Eurobarometer report, Italy has some of the highest levels of racial prejudice in Europe. In 2018, Senegalese migrant Idi Dain was shot dead on a bridge in Florence, sparking protests and bringing attention to the racial violence faced by black migrants in Italy. While Italy's rich cultural history makes it a must-visit destination, the country's issues with racism make it a more challenging experience for black travelers. Awareness and caution are advised when visiting certain areas. Number 7. Greece. Greece, with its picturesque islands and ancient ruins, is a dream destination for many, but black travelers often encounter racism, particularly from far-right groups and in less touristy areas. Black travelers report experiencing open hostility, including racial slurs and stares. In 2018, Al Jazeera documented instances of black people facing discrimination in public spaces, with many being denied entry to bars, restaurants, and clubs. The far-right political party Golden Dawn, which gained significant traction in the early 2010s, is known for its xenophobic views. Though its influence has waned, its anti-immigrant rhetoric left a lasting impact on Greek society, particularly toward African migrants. Black people in Greece often face heightened scrutiny from law enforcement. There are frequent reports of racial profiling, where black individuals are stopped and questioned more often than their white counterparts. In 2019, a black American tourist was beaten to death by a group of men in a racially motivated attack on the island of Zakynthos, drawing international attention to the dangers faced by black travelers in Greece. Greece may be known for its beauty and history, but black travelers should be mindful of potential racism, particularly in smaller towns and less touristy areas. Staying aware of your surroundings is key to having a positive experience. Number 6. Japan. Japan is a country of contrasts, known for its politeness and hospitality, but black people often find themselves treated differently due to deep-seated cultural biases and limited racial diversity. Japan is one of the most ethnically homogeneous countries in the world, and this can result in a lack of understanding or acceptance of racial differences. Black people in Japan often report feeling like outsiders, with frequent stares and invasive questions about their appearance. Japanese media often perpetuates harmful stereotypes about black people, reinforcing negative perceptions. This includes blackface performances on television and depictions of black characters in anime that are exaggerated or caricatured. One of the most common issues faced by black residents and visitors in Japan is housing discrimination. Many landlords refuse to rent to foreigners, particularly people of African descent, citing unfounded concerns about their behavior or ability to integrate. In 2015, Ariana Miyamoto, a biracial woman of African American and Japanese descent, faced backlash after winning the title of Miss Universe Japan. Critics argued that she didn't represent true Japanese beauty because of her black heritage, highlighting the country's struggle with racial inclusivity. Japan's reputation for politeness doesn't always extend to black visitors, who may face subtle but significant forms of discrimination. Despite this, many black travelers still enjoy Japan's unique culture, with preparation and understanding of local attitudes. Number 5. Poland. Poland's political climate and cultural homogeneity have made it a difficult place for black people, both residents and tourists, who often experience overt racism and hostility. Black individuals in Poland frequently report experiences of racial slurs, harassment, and even physical violence. A 2021 report from Open Society Foundations found that Poland has one of the highest rates of racial discrimination in Europe. The rise of far-right nationalism in Poland has fueled xenophobic attitudes, particularly toward immigrants and people of African descent. These groups often hold anti-immigrant rallies, where racist slogans and signs are common. Racial profiling by Polish police is a significant issue, with black people often being stopped, searched, or questioned without cause. This has been documented by various human rights organizations, including Amnesty International. In 2020, a Nigerian student in Poland was assaulted by a group of men in a racially motivated attack, sparking protests and calls for better protection of black residents and tourists in the country. Poland's political and social climate makes it a challenging destination for black travelers. Although the country has much to offer culturally, black visitors should be prepared for potential hostility. Number 4. Turkey. Turkey's strategic position between Europe and Asia makes it a fascinating cultural hub, but black travelers often encounter racism, particularly in less cosmopolitan areas. Black travelers frequently report being stared at or subject to inappropriate comments about their appearance. These experiences are more common in rural areas where Black people are a rare sight. Some Black visitors have been denied entry to clubs or restaurants, particularly in Istanbul, where racial profiling is more prevalent. This type of discrimination is often unspoken but widely practiced. African migrants, particularly those from sub-Saharan Africa, face significant challenges in Turkey, including police harassment and difficulty finding employment. Many live in poverty due to these barriers. In 2018, a Black British woman made headlines after she was denied entry to multiple clubs in Istanbul due to her race, shedding light on the discrimination faced by Black people in the city's nightlife scene. Turkey's rich history and culture make it a popular destination, but Black travelers should be prepared for racial biases, particularly outside major tourist spots. Despite these challenges, many Black visitors enjoy Turkey's historical landmarks and vibrant cities. Number 3. Ukraine. Ukraine's ongoing political instability has exacerbated existing racial tensions, making it a difficult destination for Black people, particularly students and immigrants. Black individuals in Ukraine frequently report racially motivated harassment and attacks. In 2020, the European Network Against Racism documented numerous cases of racial violence, particularly against African students. Ukraine's far-right nationalist groups have been gaining influence in recent years, often targeting minorities, including Black people. Public marches organized by these groups frequently feature racist slogans and chants. Victims of racially motivated violence in Ukraine often face challenges when seeking justice, as police are either unresponsive or dismissive. This lack of protection contributes to the hostile environment for Black people. In 2018, Nigerian students were attacked by a group of men in Kyiv, leading to international calls for the Ukrainian government to address racial violence. Unfortunately, incidents like these are not uncommon. Ukraine's political unrest and far-right influence have made it a difficult place for Black travelers and residents. While the country offers a wealth of history, Black visitors should exercise caution when traveling through certain regions. Number 2. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is known for its conservative society and strict laws. But for Black people, the country can feel even more unwelcoming due to deep-rooted racism and a rigid social hierarchy. Black individuals in Saudi Arabia, particularly those from African countries, report experiencing overt racism, including being referred to with racial slurs and facing discrimination in public spaces. According to Middle East Eye, Black Saudis and African migrants face significant social and economic challenges due to systemic racism. African migrant workers in Saudi Arabia often face harsh working conditions, exploitation, and abuse. These workers are frequently subjected to racism from their employers and the wider society, making Saudi Arabia a difficult place for many Black people to live and work. There are few legal protections in place for Black people facing discrimination in Saudi Arabia. Racial bias is often ignored or overlooked by authorities, leaving victims with little recourse. In 2020, video footage surfaced of Ethiopian migrant workers being detained in inhumane conditions in Saudi Arabia, leading to international condemnation of the country's treatment of Black people. Saudi Arabia's strict social hierarchy and deep-seated racism make it an unwelcoming environment for many Black people. Travelers should be aware of the challenges they may face in this conservative nation. Number 1. South Korea. South Korea is a technologically advanced country with a vibrant pop culture scene, but it's also notorious for its lack of racial diversity, which can make Black visitors feel unwelcome. South Korea is one of the most ethnically homogeneous countries in the world, and Black people often feel like outsiders. This lack of diversity can lead to frequent staring and invasive questions about appearance and ethnicity. Many Black travelers report being denied entry to clubs and bars, particularly in Seoul. This form of racial profiling is widespread, and some establishments even have explicit "no foreigners" policies. South Korean media often portrays Black people through negative stereotypes, which reinforces prejudiced attitudes among the general public. Blackface performances on TV shows and racist depictions in K-pop videos have drawn international criticism. In 2017, a Ghanaian model living in South Korea went viral after sharing her experiences of daily racism, including being denied housing and facing discrimination in public spaces. Her story resonated with many other Black residents and visitors to the country. South Korea's lack of racial diversity and the persistence of negative stereotypes make it a difficult place for Black travelers. Despite these challenges, the country's cultural offerings remain a draw for those willing to navigate the complexities of its social landscape. From Russia to South Korea, these countries pose unique challenges for Black travelers due to deep-rooted racism and cultural biases. While it's important to be aware of these issues, it's equally important to push for greater awareness and inclusivity worldwide. Have you ever experienced discrimination while traveling, or do you know of other places that should be on this list? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more thought-provoking content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.